We beseech you to look upon the abundant favor these your servants, who may be in police called to perform such important trust in this land. Let your blessings set upon your assembled, and grant that they may, as in your presence, treat and consider all matters that shall come under their deliberation, is so just and parliament to promote your honor and glory, and to advance the good of those whose interests you have committed to their charge.
Item 2, communication from the chair.
Honorable members, I want to take this opportunity to welcome you once again to this afternoon's sitting. It's a very important sitting for us because we are going to discuss matters that regard our workers. The Nssf report. And you know, the money that goes to Nssf belongs to our workers. Any diversion of such monies is criminal. We are here to legislate for people, for our constituents, and for humanity, and is one more reason why we must look at issues that affect the workers of this country. You have been a worker in one way or the other, and those savings are very, very dear to our people. So we'll be waiting to hear a report from both Finance and Ministry of Gender. We'll also complete the accountability cycle on Park Central today. And once we are done with that, then we'll be good to go. We'll not have any backlog. It has been use of stick and carrot, but we are achieving what we want as Parliament. I want to thank you. Matters of national importance. Honorable Azza Tom.
Thank you very much, Right Honorable Speaker, and my dear colleagues. I rise on a matter of national importance, and the issue is about challenges of transport and communication across the River Nile at Laropi Town Council, causing delays, suffering, and loss of lives to the people. Madam Speaker, a section of leaders and residents of West Nile in general, Obongi, Moyo, and Ajumani districts in particular, have requested the government to expedite and fast-track plans to construct a bridge across the Nile at Laropi for connecting Moyo and Ajumani districts. This is because of late, Madam Speaker, travelers get stranded for hours and others for days as they wait for the ferry at Laropi due to increase in population and traffic flow. Madam Speaker, travelers who normally opt to travel via Rua take more than 14 hours instead of the usual 8 hours. The ferry also breaks down frequently, and routine maintenance usually takes a half day. The Laropi ferry starts operation at 7 a.m. in the morning and ends at 7 p.m. in the evening. It has a vessel capacity of 120 tons, and it carries on average 1,500 to 1,800 people per day, with a minimum of 12 trips and a maximum of 22 trips. It takes 30 minutes loading and offloading, while the time to cross is between 10 to 15 minutes. The ferry has a capacity of 180 passengers and a cargo of 90 tons. This ferry is used by the entire nation for access to regional markets like Central African Republic, South Sudan, Democratic Republic of Congo, and for internal connectivity within the East African Community member states
Honorable Azar,
The ferry-
give us now you're reading.
I'm coming for the prayers.
Okay, give us the prayers.
Not only that, Madam Speaker, most importantly, the ferry normally is used for referrals, for taking those who are really very sick to the hospitals right in Kampala and in Gulu. Madam Speaker, our prayers. We, the members of Parliament from Madi sub-region, therefore jointly urge government to provide assurance to the leaders and citizens about the following. 1. The current status of Laropi Bridge and connecting road networks, that is Laropi Moyo Afozi Road, feasibility studies and design of the two projects since the money was borrowed by Parliament from the African Development Bank as a loan by the 10th Parliament in June 2020, amounting to United States dollars 235. Secondly, Madam Speaker, inclusion of Laropi Bridge and Laropi Moyo Afozi Road project in the financial year 2023.
Just hold on.
Thank
What
you,
is the order about?
No, Speaker, the member on the floor is a senior member here and knows the rules clearly, very clearly, that we are not supposed to raise matters while reading. But I'm seeing him seriously reading, as if he's reading a textbook. So he's reading in order, having spent all the times here from Moyo, Honorable Tom Azar, to not display good example for the new members by reading a matter that he knows in his head from his constituency. Is it in order?
Honorable Azar is making a maiden speech for this year. So, since it is a maiden speech, so
thank you very much, Madam Speaker, for your protection. And Madam Speaker, I was trying to make references, making references to my submission. Thank you very much for the protection. Madam Speaker, we also request the inclusion of Laropi Bridge and Laropi Moyo Afozi Road projects in the financial year 2023-2024 sector budget framework paper. Thirdly, we wanted to know about the progress with environmental and social impact assessment and plan for resettlement and compensation of project affected persons. We wanted to know about the expected time for commencement as well as to when this project will end. Then the contingent plans to address unforeseen circumstances. Lastly, Madam Speaker, we request the government to operationalize the ferry services between Obongi and Ajuman district at Senior landing site. Secondly, operationalize the ferry services between Rana Camp in Madiokolo and Amuri district in Amuru district, services in Aruma district.
Thank you.
I thank you very much for giving the time. Thank you.
Thank you, Honorable Tom. Government.
Right, Honorable Speaker and Honorable Members. First of all, I want to thank Honorable Tom Aleru Azar, who spoke on behalf of all MPs from Madi. Right, Honorable Speaker, from his submission, one realizes that at least he is abreast with where government is, and since he is requesting for a progress statement on the feasibility studies, the design, and the environmental social impact assessment, I undertake to move the Ministry of Works and Transport, through your guidance, Right Honorable Speaker, to come on the floor and give a progress report on what the Honorable Member has requested on behalf of Madi Sub-Region. Thank you.
Thank you. Honorable Azar, give the government chief whip your petition, what you have written. It is good you are reading it, so you can refer it to it. Thank you. Let the minister come and report to this house by Wednesday. Thursday is a public holiday. By Wednesday. William.
Thank you, Right Honorable Speaker. I raise on a matter of national importance regarding wrangles in Mubende district. Right Honorable Speaker, the constituency I represent of Wekrasas constituency, about 75% of the people on verge of eviction. We are having Milo land, and that land was allocated to the owners as early as the 1930s.
You're
Those
saying,
people were
you're
not
saying
there.
75% of your constituents?
Yes, Right Honorable Speaker.
You'll need to give us the figures, how many
No,
are
I'm
your
going,
constituents?
Right Honorable Speaker, if given time, I can correct all the statistics. And it is not only my constituents, but the entire Mubende.
Honorable Museveni, I want you to make a statement that your people are being evicted or are in the verge of being evicted. Don't quantify the number because you don't have the statistics.
Much obliged, Right Honorable Speaker. We have an issue with the one called the Mafumo.
So you withdraw the 75%?
Yeah, I withdraw 75%, Right Honorable Speaker, because it's not. I cannot confirm it. But maybe with the time we can get the statistics. But a very big number, Right Honorable Speaker. They are on verge of eviction. One Mafumo Po recently sprayed all the gardens of people. He attempted to evict them. We refused. Then they sprayed their gardens. All the crops were destroyed. We have other people like Grace Caballo. He wants 2 square miles. People are occupying that land. Even today, she's there on the ground. She came with the people from Ministry of Lands, the officers. Then he came with the police, Chairman Nssf, and she's threatening to get the 2 square miles forcefully. Yet that land is occupied. We have a number of them. Right Honorable Speaker, my players is that this House interests itself in the land matters in Mubende, so that we can get the real figure and we can solve the problem. Here in Uganda, Right Honorable Speaker, also we play that the land fund, we also benefit from land fund. We have a number of land wrangles, but we have not benefited. I normally see when the government is buying land for the people in different parts of the country where we have not history of land wrangles. But here in Uganda, Right Honorable Speaker, I can assure you that is why even the NRM government or NRM as a party performed poorly in elections in 2011. I beg this House to take the interest so that I can allow information from members. Right Honorable Speaker, I have no authority to give information, but with the authority, I can pray that I allow some members to also beef up.
Honorable, let's not bring parties into this issue.
Right Honorable Speaker, I was making my players.
Let's protect the land that belongs to the people.
Right, Speaker.
When the Speaker is speaking, you sit down. Let's protect the land. Government, can we have the Minister of Lands go and find out what is happening in Mubende? And we must have, pardon? I'll give a leader of opposition to say a word, but can we have a Minister of Lands, Honorable Nabakova, Judith, go on ground and report to this House on the status of the land that is being talked about and the greater Mubende as it is being said.
Thank you very much, Right Honorable Speaker. Right Honorable Speaker, the matter to deal with in Mubende is majority of the land is public land. And unfortunately, people who are seated on that land have not gone ahead to process leasehold or freehold titles on their land. Now, the people who come to Mubende see within the Ministry of Lands free land, free public land, which is fully occupied by people. So these people process freehold titles, and the next day they want the land they've processed the titles on. So the minister, I think, the entirety of Greater Mubende, I think the Speaker has instructed very well. The entirety of Greater Mubende, this matter should come out. How many people are seated on public land without freehold titles? And I think government can help on that.
We should also look at who are the encroachers. If you're encroaching on government land, land belongs to government. William? Another William, not you, Chemonges. So we expect a report from Lands.
Right Honorable Speaker, I believe that the information provided by the acting leader of opposition is very, very valid. I undertake to convey the directive of this House to the Minister of Lands to first of all move on the ground, and secondly to brief this House on the status of land in the greater Mubende. Thank you.
And we'll try our best to gazette Thursdays to get such responses from these ministers before Prime Minister's time. We are going to leave Thursdays for members. Members should bring all their issues on Thursdays. Yes, Musomesa?
On the same matter of the one member from Mubende.
I thought I ruled.
No, I was thinking of a procedural matter. And
can we go to the next item? Chemonges?
Thank you so much, Madam Speaker. I raise on the issue of national importance. Yes.
Proceed, don't.
On the 29th of December 2022, I managed to be with all the health workers of Kapturawa Hospital. And I got shocked that the entire hospital, which is Kapturawa Hospital, which is currently acting as our regional hospital, and which is serving over 500 people, the entire Sabay region, has got no ambulance. And I looked at the documents, the correspondences, the doctors, the DHO, the district have been writing to the Ministry of Health almost the whole file. And for the last 5 years, they have never received the ambulance, even when they have kept on following up with the ministry. And after doing my own research, I found out that government have been buying ambulances at least every 6 months. They buy. But for Kapturawa Hospital, the people are confused. And this is what the health workers told me, that they appreciate the salaries. Their salaries have been increased, and they are willing and very ready to work. But they can't receive patients, especially from villages. And only just within 3-4 months, we have lost almost 5 mothers, those who are undergoing labor, because of lack of an ambulance in that district. I take it.
Honorable Minister, Macho, you have a slot to speak. Honorable Government Chief Whip, the issue of the ambulance, can we hear from you?
Right Honorable Speaker and Honorable Members, first of all I want to thank the Whip of Sabay for raising the matter of no ambulance at Kapturawa Hospital. One, I wish to request that since he has indicated that the district has been writing, kindly share the write-ups of the district with my office, but I equally undertake to move the Ministry of Health to come and explain to this Parliament why Kapturawa Hospital and any other district hospital in Uganda are not having ambulances bought or procured by government. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Whips, different whips from different areas, you need taking interest in your areas of jurisdiction. Honorable Chemonges is speaking about this, is not from Kapturawa, it's from Kwen. So look at what is happening in your area and you bring a document, and we can be able to discuss this as different from region to region. Honorable Mayanja. Alan.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker, for the opportunity. The issue I raised it yesterday about the Nssf.
Okay, can you bring it up
later,
okay, after presentation?
Okay, thank you.
Dr. Bed, Honorable Macho.
Thank you, the Right Honorable Speaker of Uganda's Parliament, for this opportunity. Right Honorable Speaker, I've rose on a point of national importance that has been burning, and I've talked it in this Parliament for more than 10 times. Right Honorable Speaker, as I talk now, Busia municipality is flooded with trailers. Tororo Road has more than 300 trailers. Majanji Road has more than 80 trailers. Kampala Jinja Road has more than 500 trailers. They are going up to a place called Hunamungodi, and the whole custom is jammed. Madam Speaker, as I talk this, the traders on Customs Road cannot work at all because the trailers have parked in front of their shops. And whenever you pass under those trailers, there are things I cannot mention because these drivers have turned these trailers to be bedrooms. These trailers has caused sanitation in Busia to be very, very bad. Madam Speaker, is my prayer. But before I pray, at the same time, as these trailers have parked in Busia to an extent that in the history of this world, we have traffic jam of bicycles in Busia. Because Busia, we use border borders being on the border. But Madam Speaker, at the same time, and my colleagues, as these trailers have parked in Busia, every 2 days, Busia gets electricity, and every 6 days, we are in the total darkness. We keep asking Umeme, what about when there will be a problem on the border when we have fuel tanks? It is my prayer, Madam Speaker, that the ministry or government, good enough I'm talking when the Minister of Trade, my sister, she's looking at me. We are praying that the journeys you came to Busia have not worked. I'm praying that this time, as I request the Right Honorable Speaker, please, government, help us to allow my people of Busia work by getting us a dry port where goods can be offloaded and trailers go where they belong, and sort out the issue of overpacking of trailers. Because when one trailer one day will catch fire, we don't have fire brigade in Busia at all. We don't have enough jerry cans, enough pails and saucepans to get water to pour on one trailer. Therefore, assist us. To make sure that trailers don't park in town. So thank you very much, Right Honorable Speaker.
Thank you so much. This is a very serious matter. It's a very serious matter. Those trailers. It is not only in Busia. When you go to my own district in town, accidents are there all the time because the trailers park along the roadside on both sides. Honorable Minister, Government. Yes.
Madam Speaker, the Honorable Macho, Bishop, has informed the Parliament before that they usually do cross-border trade. Now, I don't want to join those that call it smuggling, but I wanted to find out, one, whether the kind of trade at this border, which is a cross-border trade, by whatever description they put, generates sufficient revenue for government to do what the Honorable Macho wants to do for his people. I thought that would also come in so that we would know the source of funding, considering that the kind of cross-border trade generates less.
That was actually a light moment. Yes, Commissioner, you are a former.
Right Honorable Speaker, the information I would like to give my colleague is that Busia is a one-stop border post that largely clears fuel that comes into this country. I'm just wondering why actually you have trucks stopping. What is the incentive that is making them stop in Busia? Because they are supposed to cross, and the fuel that comes through Busia has already paid tax, so they are supposed to be crossing and going to the pump stations. So why are they stopping in Busia?
Honorable Katesh, but you've heard him saying they make those trailers their bedrooms. So that is the motivation, that is the incentive.
So
Busia must be very rich with
I think the honorable colleague is not telling us the whole truth. But Madam Speaker, what I would like to advise is that the rightful agency that should be looking at this matter is actually the customs, because those trailers have got a tracking system that alerts when they overstay in one place. So I think there must be a problem that needs to be interrogated. But stopping in Busia, maybe you have turned it into another market that needs to be looked at.
Maybe, as you've said already, customs is the right...
You used to arrest us, you are now talking here.
But I thought Katesh is helping you. Are you okay? Honorable Katesh is saying the customs should be able to monitor how long these trailers stay there. And that's what we want now, the minister, to make a commitment that she's going to talk to URA, to the customs, to ensure that those trailers do not stay there. Minister.
Thank you so much, Right Honorable Speaker. Happy New Year, and to all my colleagues. Right, Speaker, I want to really thank my colleague, the Honorable Macho, for raising this issue. It's very pertinent, and for businesses, more especially at the borders. It's not only Busia border, there is Malaba, there is Impondwe, which are even Elegu, which are having these congestions. And it was a hot matter in cabinet. An interministerial committee is already put in place, including Ministry of Works, because directly handles matters to do with vehicles and those huge trucks. Then the way bridges, the distance between the parking and the way bridges, and then issues to do with the fires, because in case of anything, if fires broke near the border, it will be a big disaster. Then, of course, Minister of Finance is also handling matters to do with taxation, more especially now on those, because other countries are trying to lure us to take us to their countries to put dry ports when even they have ports near the waters. But for us, we are landlocked. We thought the idea of dry ports would be either put in Malaba. And of course, Busia, Malaba, and all those, even not Ruakaka, those areas where we are getting iron ore down in Kabale. We are thinking about many areas to make sure that we establish a dry port. A dry port is a good idea, right, Honorable Speaker, because it generates revenue for the country. And now, for those ones, tentatively, maybe Minister of Finance can look into the idea of putting a tax on those ones who are parking along the road, so that they don't use those facilities as bedrooms. So we can put a tax. If you put your truck there and you want to use it for your own benefits, you pay. So that would be a good idea if Minister of Finance can really tax those trucks which are misusing, not misusing, they are properly using.
We don't want them to pay. We know they can afford to pay. We don't want the trucks there.
It is most obliged, Right Honorable Speaker. I can. That is one of the ideas that is on table to make sure we decongest and remove totally those trucks. When they come, they go away to the rightful place. Thank you.
Yes, Alex. So when do we get a response from you that the place has been decongested?
Right.
Right Honorable Speaker, I asked for some 2 weeks to contact my colleagues so that we come with a concrete report.
We don't want a report, we want an action, that is
taken
being taken.
report.
Elder, you want to say something?
Thank you, Right Honourable Speaker and colleagues. First of all, I want to thank Honourable Macho for bringing this matter up. But you know, the local council have a right to introduce a tax for prolonged parking. And I think those bedrooms can be actually inhibited by local tax.
Honorable Ravirama, we know the local government has that authority, but we are trying to avoid, because this is where we have team no sleep. The prostitutes. Now, if you want us to talk the real thing that is happening, that Macho was fearing to talk, this is where our girls are getting spoiled. Let these people do their work, go somewhere. The tax may be only 5,000, and they can afford it. Let's limit the number of vehicles in the area. We don't refuse the tax, but we don't want it. Let's protect our girls and our boys.
Madam, you had...
Right Honourable Speaker, I want to promise this Parliament that we are going to take action and make sure that those trucks leave those areas.
And
together
you work
with my
URA?
colleagues. Yes, we are working with URA, working with the Minister of Works. Thank you, Right Speaker.
Thank you. Alex, you had something? Alex, Phyllis.
Yeah, Right Honourable Speaker. You know, I'm really surprised that such a matter, you know, cannot be resolved. Because this is really something where if there are serious leaders at the local level, they must team up. And you find a gazetted place where these trucks can be, because we don't want to look at the trucks as a liability when actually they are bringing in money in even the local economy and the country. What we need is take advantage of these trucks. You have seen the problem. Then find an open space, whether it can be a playground for that temporary, you know, purposes, and have these trucks there.
Which temporary purposes are you talking about?
Yeah, I'm talking of temporary parking, because the problem now is parking on. I know the other one.
Not lodging, not resting.
No, Madam Speaker. And Madam Speaker.
And as Honorable Katesh said, these vehicles bring in fuel. Is that what you said? And basically they are supposed to transport the fuel.
Yes.
Why would you want that temporary parking?
Yeah, so Madam,
you know the problem, you don't come from the border. So you don't know the impact it has.
No, I'm looking at business,
no,
Madam.
We are looking at, you don't know what is happening at the border.
Okay, Madam Speaker.
Phyllis, then Enos.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. I rise on a matter of national concern. And this concern...
Phyllis, we are still on the same thing of the border.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Actually, to me, the issue is not only at the border. I'll give you an example. Even in the Antonde, where I come from, trucks park in the city center or the town center for several reasons. First of all, these towns are used as sleepover points when they are tired or when they have delivered their oil and they are driving back. They usually rest in these towns. But there's a challenge. When we try to get these trucks out of town, the locals themselves fault it. They say they earn from these trucks. They are the ones who use their lodges. They are the ones who take all the services, small supermarkets that work at night. Now, the challenge that we have, or the policy that we need from the ministry or cabinet or government, is to provide those temporary parking sites and make it a point that they don't park in the middle of the towns. Alternatively, provide emergency services for all these trading centers. Let's have trucks, let's have fire trucks, let's have ambulances to take care of the risks that come with these trucks parking in the middle of towns. But trying to get them out of town, it's another political risk for the local leaders, and that's why they will never allow them to leave the towns. They will always allow them to park because they stimulate the businesses that come with their parking. Thank you so much, Madam Speaker.
When you look at the political risk versus the social risk, you need to know which one you go for. Yes?
I think
First switch on.
Thank you, Right Honourable Speaker. I think the two issues are different. The issue at the border that Honourable Macho raised relates mainly to the risk for accidents, fire, and the social impact that you're talking about. What the Honourable Simwe is talking about is, for example, a truck driver is tired. He can no longer continue to drive. And you know the risks associated on the road. It is just a question of organization. I used to think that, and I still want to be tempted to think, that we have an organized government. The organized governments would do it this way. Would find a specific gazetted place for parking. If you go to Lukaya, for example, they have a designated parking place. Those that are tired do not use the trucks as hotels. I want to modify the language a bit. They go to those hotels or lodges around and sleep in an organized way. It would actually help us to stop some of these trucks from driving in the night, because they account for half of the accidents, the road carnage that we witness in this country. So I think, one, I would agree with the Honourable Minister to come with a statement and detailed policy on how they want to handle this issue. One, we want revenue out of it. Two, we want to minimize social risk. And three, accidents on the road. I think that is the concern of the Honourable Member. And I want to confirm, Right Honourable Speaker, that today Honourable Macho is okay. Since you were asking, I can confirm today is okay. I thank you.
Honourable members, let's wait for a report from the Minister in regard to that. And you need to balance between revenue collection, the political, and then the social aspect. We need a report to that effect. And then also look at an issue of gazetting a particular area without decongesting. Without congesting the border. Florence.
Thank you, Right Honourable, for this opportunity. My name is Florence Umane MP, Kasese District. Right Honourable Speaker, I stand on a matter of national importance in regard to the fraudulent payment for land meant to resettle people in Muhocha IDP camp. Right Honourable Speaker, last November I was here on the same note. I was here on the same issue last November, and you directed the Minister of Lands to go to the locus and find out why she recommended the payment of land without assessing. You also directed the Office of the Prime Minister to go to Kasese and make the same assessment. You also directed the Minister for Presidency to investigate the RDC, who is condemned, who is accused of aiding the fraudsters. As I speak, Right Honourable Speaker, no one has stepped foot in the district. And on 16th of January, the chairperson, LC1, who has been giving information, was arrested for 4 hours for giving the rightful information. Right Honourable Speaker, my prayer is the ministers you directed to go to the locus, I pray that they go to the district and make an assessment just like you directed them to do. Right Honourable Speaker, the moment they continue failing to go by your directions, we are not going to see any importance for raising issues here. They need to respect your directives just like you have always done. Right Honourable Speaker, I also request that government looks for land that has no conflict, so that people who are about to be resettled are taken to a land freely. Otherwise, they may not live on that land freely when the owners are vowing not to give them peace on that land. Thank you, Right Honourable Speaker.
Thank you, Government Chief Whip. We made directives here and none of them was implemented. Is that contempt of Parliament?
Right Honourable Speaker and honourable colleagues, let me take responsibility on behalf of the ministers mentioned and apologize to this Parliament if the directive of this House was not followed. But I believe that the biggest room we have is always room for improvement. These ministers could have been handling other matters. But Right Honourable Speaker, I again undertake with this second chance to remind the concerned ministers to respect the directive of this Parliament and to move to the locus as directed. We will also look at the date mentioned by the Honourable Member, 16th January, to ensure that we extract the resolution of Parliament and accordingly inform the respective ministers. I beg to submit.
Thank you, Government Chief Whip. I wish all the ministers were so apologetic like you when they know that there is a mistake. And thank you for being an example. Honorable Akol Anthony. Yes.
Thank you, Right Honourable Speaker. Right Honourable Speaker, last week I raised the matter that directs our procedures for submitting the BFP. That our BFP needed to be accompanied by the climate change certificate.
Are we looking at BFP now?
I'm just trying to request if we are procedurally moving right. If today, I mean tomorrow, we are supposed to end the process and we have not been given the document, Right Honourable Speaker.
How are we ending the process tomorrow?
Because
we are ending the process of budgeting in May. We have just started. We've just started.
No,
So don't worry, don't worry.
20th is
This
tomorrow.
time we'll follow the law to the letter. Even when they are bringing the documents for borrowing as one of the source of funding, the conditions must be debated before supply.
Right Honourable Speaker, rise on matter of national importance. Right Honourable Speaker, in the year 2021, we had a big problem in the areas of northern Uganda and eastern Uganda with the invasion of a group of people who move around with their animals, and they are commonly known as the Balalos. And Right Honourable Speaker, that time the leaders of northern Uganda and eastern Uganda
Honourable members,
raised the concern to the President of the Republic of Uganda.
Listen to the member. We'll react to it. It's not a crime to be a Mulalo. Yes. It is not a crime to be a Mulalo. I mean, we should be proud of our tribes. You continue with your...
Right Honourable Speaker, this matter was raised to the President of the Republic of Uganda. And then on the 2nd November 2021, the President of the Republic of Uganda wrote communication to the Prime Minister's office, directing action to be taken by the office of the Prime Minister. And among the directives were, 1, that the Balalo should leave the affected areas within 2 months. That they should make sure that those who acquired land in a legal way must fence their land and make sure that there is water for their animals in the areas where they're operating. 3, that the necessary law should be amended to provide for imprisonment of 5 years and the confiscation of and auctioning of cattle involved in this endemic indiscipline.
Right Honourable Speaker, the member holding the floor is consistently and continuously using the word Balalo without defining to the House what Balalo means. Who are we talking about? So that when you make a statement, we know who we are actually talking about. Can the member clarify to us who the Balalo are? Thank you.
Right Honorable Speaker, let me thank Emat for that clarification she wanted. Actually, I did not know the definition, but I want to use the definition of the President. He said these are people who have been roaming around with their animals without settling in a particular place. And he referred to these people that their origin, some of them are from Rwanda, others are from Tanzania, and others are from Western Uganda. That is the definition of the President of the Republic of Uganda. Right Honorable Speaker.
Can you finish your statement?
A four-person committee comprising Honorable David Muhozi, Honorable Bogo Engola, and Honorable Bright Ramirana, I think he's around, was formed to implement the directive of the President. Right Honorable Speaker, to our surprise, the number of this particular group of people have continued to increase in northern Uganda and eastern Uganda. And of recent, it has brought a lot of insecurity in my area, in northern Uganda and eastern Uganda, to the extent that the local people have decided to take local methods to send them away. Right Honorable Speaker, my prayers are, one, the Prime Minister to immediately update the House whether there is alternative directive to allow the Balalo to occupy northern Uganda and eastern Uganda. Two, to request the Prime Minister to evacuate the Balalo from northern Uganda and eastern Uganda within 2 weeks to avoid insecurity. And three, to request that the Prime Minister to bring the amendments as directed by the President to make sure there is a law amended to cater for 5 years imprisonment and confiscation and auctioning of the kettles as directed by the President. Right Honorable Speaker, if this step is not taken, we risk having some insecurity in these parts of the country. Thank you very much.
Maybe we could amend prayer 1 to say the Prime Minister to immediately update the House whether there is an alternative directive to allow the Balalo to occupy northern Uganda and eastern Uganda for those who do not have land there. Because when you look at my area, I have a whole sub-county full of Balalo and they own land there. So we should be looking at people who do not have the land, who are not bona fide occupants of that area. And maybe just for clarification, I think Honorable Akol is referring to a letter which was written by the President on 2nd November 2021. Honorable Rabirama is here.
Right Honorable, maybe I lay on table the letter written by the President on the 2nd November 2021, giving directive to the Prime Minister of Uganda on the issue of the Balalos. I beg to lay.
Please lay. Honorable Rabirama, can we hear from a member of the committee?
Thank you, Right Honorable Speaker. Honorable colleagues, there is no directive from anywhere for Balalo to occupy northern Uganda or parts of. What happened that these people illegally went to some of these areas without with animals, but without with land which is not does not have capacity for the stocks, and they ended up in people's gardens. So people raised the concern, and the President wrote those directives. I happened to be on the committee, and many people were chased, were forced to leave. A total of about, I don't remember, about 9,000 heads of cattle crossed Karuma to south. We put measures in place and guidelines to follow. And the only permits that are given to animals going to northern Uganda, some of the MPs have been to my office, have been to the office of the Commissioner Animal Health seeking for permits, but permits are only given to people who have land and who have certificate of the local people that actually there is land to take these animals. They also have a veterinary certificate from the point of origin to the point of reception, that there is no threat of disease. However, recently we arrested a group on the waters of Lake Choga ferrying cows on the water, and we are held for some time, and we have forced them to go back to where they came from. Right Honorable Speaker, I pledge to convey this message to the committee and the Prime Minister. We should bring an update report on this matter. But otherwise, I want to... Yes, please.
Prime Minister will require a status report after 2 weeks. Honorable Ravirama will expect a report in 2 weeks' time. Okay. No, you will give him you will ask for a clarification when he has a report, because this has got him off guard.
Right Honourable Speaker, thank you. You have already ruled on this matter. I'm requesting in their report they should indicate whether these are Ugandans or non-Ugandans. And why am I raising this, Right Honourable Speaker? In some of these actions, we are perpetrating tribalism for the sake of politics. Because these are Ugandans. Who are the Balalo?
In one of the letters, in a letter written by the President, he says, therefore, the Balalo are either non-Ugandans coming from neighboring countries or indisciplined Ugandans that sold land we gave them and are now disturbing other Ugandans in their area. Yeah. And they should therefore not be tolerated.
Yes. Thank you, Honourable. Can I, through you, Right Honourable Speaker?
I had made a ruling to this effect. I had made a ruling. You people sit. Sit. I had made a ruling to this effect. Maybe I could give you a copy of the President's letter. But as I said before, if these people own land in those areas, we need to coexist. But where you have these ones who are moving from this one to the other, taking cows to eat people's food, especially in this situation, then the committee should make a decision on that effect. Honorable Evander. Members, let's be brief. Then Brenda.
Thank you so much, the Right Honourable Speaker, for the opportunity. The Right Honourable Speaker, I rise on the matter of national importance over the status of my health center 4s, Websengo Health Center 4 and Karugutu Health Center 4. The Right Honourable Speaker, in the year 2019, the Health Center 4 Karugutu and the Websengo were upgraded from Health Center 3 to Health Center 4. Unfortunately, Madam Speaker, that the Ministry did not consider infrastructure development. First of all, the Health Center 4 Websengo of now, it was a Health Center 2, upgraded to Health Center 3 without consideration of infrastructure development. Then they again upgraded it from Health Center 3 to Health Center 4 with no consideration of any infrastructure development. The Right Honourable Speaker, people are being treated, especially outpatients, are being treated in isolation tents that we are meant to treat Ebola patients. Very hot, and they are unhealthy for the patients who are being treated there. And my prayers, the Right Honourable Speaker, one, because I've been communicating to the Ministry for a very long time. I have all correspondence here, but with no action taken. And my prayers are, one, the ministry should send a team, technical team, to go to Ntoroko and assess the situation with a view of having remedy. 2, at least in this coming financial year, at least outpatient block should be factored in the budget so that it brings relief, because patients are not getting the services they need. I beg to submit.
Thank you,
Speaker.
Government. Minister of Health.
Thank you so much, Right Honorable Speaker. And as the precedents have been set by the Government Chief Whip, I wish to apologize to the member for the concern he has raised that has been in touch with the ministry, especially on the issues of upgrading health facilities without infrastructure development in his area. I take concern of the prayers, Right Honorable Speaker. I want to
Honorable Ivanda, they are responding to your issue. You're busy talking.
I want to assure the honorable member that as part of the team, and now that the issue has come in, and I want to take an obligation that I personally will get in touch with Honorable Ivanda, and I shall move personally to Toroko with the technical team.
Yeah,
I thank you.
Thank you. Brenda.
Thank you so much, Right Honorable Speaker, for the opportunity. My name is Namukta Brenda, Member of Parliament, Kaliro District. I'd like to bring to the attention of this House that I have a bridge called Saka Bridge. Right Honorable Speaker, it is being worked on.
Okay.
And the project is going to take 30 months. My prayer is that as they work on the bridge, they are going to tarmac the bridge. But Kaliro has no single tarmac in the whole district. So my prayer is to request the minister to tarmac, at least to connect from the bridge to Palisa, and then to connect from the bridge to Kaliro town. It is my humble prayer. Thank you so much, Right Honorable Speaker.
Thank you. But Honorable Brenda is being sincere, much as you're going to tarmac the bridge. But the whole town has never seen any tarmac. Just tarmac for her. There is a road where there was Kamuli, Mubende, Kaliro. At least tarmac that one. And do some tarmacking within town. Honorable Minister.
Right Honorable Speaker, I've heard the prayer from the Honorable Member of Parliament. Why I'm laughing is because I wish the Honorable Member knew the kind of challenge I'm facing. Just this morning, I think I had 5 members of Parliament, and everybody's asking for a washaway bridge which needs to be constructed. For her, she has one which is being constructed, but she wants tarmac. So it's quite interesting, but yes, that road was to be tarmacked, but as we all know, we have a challenge now, which I've already communicated, I think even on the floor here, that we may not be able to take on new projects. We'll be able to finish the projects which we have started, but that project will be finished, but we shall also try to address the most critical crossing points and bridges which are connecting communities. That's our priority. I won't submit. Thank you.
General, we also have a road which was approved. It's not a new project per se. There is Kamuli, Jaja here knows. There is Kamuli, Mubende, Kaliro Road. Maybe that would help the Member of Parliament.
Yes,
it was even budgeted for. It is actually supposed to be at design level, and the letter has not come from the Minister of Finance. Minister, can we find out how far have you gone with the letter for us to help the member? And Honorable Minister of Finance, we also want to welcome you back to the House. We missed you. And welcome back to the House.
Thank you very much, Honorable Speaker and the colleagues. Happy New Year. Now I've just been having some little lunch up there, and one member of Parliament, whom I will not mention, talked about this very road. You can see I have even got it, the exact road. Buwenge, Luzinga, Kaliro, Namutumba, Gadumiri. Is that not the road we are talking about?
I'm talking about Kamuli, Buyende, Kaliro. Then the other one is another one.
It's a connection.
It is a connection.
This road is...
Those are two roads. I am asking you for a road that you know very well.
Yes, I know it very well.
Yes.
It is in the process. Yes, it is in the process. The study has already been made.
Honorable Minister, the study has not been made. It hasn't.
Maybe, can I ask my colleague, the Minister?
We're supposed to get a letter from you for design, for study, but signing the letter has taken 1 year.
Would you mind, Madam Speaker and colleagues, that I go and check the facts, then I can come back and report.
Thank you. Thank you. Phyllis? Phyllis?
Thank you, Madam Speaker, for giving me this opportunity. I rise on a matter of a national concern, and this concerns lack of water in Kapturawa district. Kapturawa district is a mountainous district and is blessed with rivers flowing through it very fast, going down to the plains of Kedea, Teso, Karamoja. But these rivers are spread far apart. The distance between each other is like an average of 10 kilometers. And when it comes to dry seasons...
Honorable members, listen to Phyllis.
Yeah. When it comes to dry seasons, our women walk very long distances to get water.
Can we ask the old woman to go and switch off her whatever iPad out? Okay.
So,
yes,
Madam
Phyllis?
Speaker, we are blessed with rivers in Kapturawa, but these rivers are far apart. They are of a distance of between 10 kilometers difference. During dry season, our women suffer a lot. They walk very long distances to collect water. And yet, a graft flow scheme is very possible in Kapturawa. It has worked in some few areas, and one time, more than 5 years ago, His Excellency the President came to Kapturawa, and our people pleaded for
Order,
water.
Madam Speaker.
Pleaded for water.
Order.
You are putting who on order?
Aha, Madam Speaker.
You leave the girl. What's wrong with you?
Madam Speaker, they have a minister.
Sit.
Madam
Wama, you talk.
Thank you.
They have a minister.
So, more than 10 years ago, His Excellency the President visited Kapturawa.
If you want to meet Phyllis secretly, you wait after the house, you follow her.
You're welcome.
Oma Phyllis.
Thank you. Thank you, Madam Speaker. His Excellency the President visited Kapturawa more than 10 years ago and promised to give water, to provide water to every village, a tap stand per village, through gravity flow scheme. But up to now, we do not have water. And there is a very big pipeline moving from River Sipi, going to Bukedea, and yet the people along that line have no water. So my request, Madam Speaker, my request kindly.
Honorable members, stop making noise. The girl knows how to get water. Oma Phyllis.
Okay. My prayers, therefore, is that government should fulfill the pledge which was made by the President.
Honorable Minister, are you listening?
One tap stand per village for water.
The grafting?
Yeah, graft flow scheme.
That water comes up to Bukedea, and I can proudly tell you that we have water in every household, tap water. So in Bukedea. So what happened to the source? Because it comes from Kapturawa.
Just before the Honorable Minister, Madam Speaker, the last 2 weekends I've spent in Kapturawa. I want to confirm it's a big problem.
What were you doing in Kapturawa?
Madam Speaker.
Okay.
Madam
That was a light moment,
Madam Speaker, the last 2 or so weekends have been the public holiday weekends. Kapturawa is now a tourist destination in eastern Uganda. I also found out Honorable Obua is an investor near that Tariet. Honorable Dr. Nakesa here is one of those putting up tourist things in that place. But the challenge is water, as stated. But what the people asked us when they got to know that I'm a member of parliament, that please, can you pass this message to Honorable Chief Tourist? He's the minister responsible for water, but he has failed us.
And it comes from Kapturawa?
And it comes from Kapturawa. So now, Honorable Speaker, that's the information I want to bring. So I think it's a high time the minister responsible for water looks at home and fulfills the president's pledge to ensure that there is water and for promotion of tourism, because the people who are putting their hotel facilities are suffering.
Thank you.
Even the ones who are constructing the stadium, they are getting water from the rivers.
Thank you. Government Chief Whip.
Right Honorable Speaker, first of all, on a personal note, the Honorable Cooper stated that I have investment in Kapturawa. I want to thank you for wishing me if I had the capacity. But I want to state on record that I do not whatsoever have any investment in Kapturawa. But I want to thank you for wishing me. On the issue of water, Madam Speaker, I am the immediate past Minister of State for Sports, and Kapturawa used to be my second district that I visited regularly after Leptong. I wish to commit, first of all, the Minister of Water and Environment is the MP for Kapturawa Municipality. I wish, therefore, to remind him of the challenges raised by the district woman representative and ask him or request him to ensure that it is rectified, because I know anytime, even before the end of this year, we will be commissioning the first phase of Teriet high altitude training facility that will be attracting international athletes from other countries. I undertake, Right Honorable Speaker, to convey the position of Parliament to the Minister of Water and Environment, who is the area MP for Kapturawa Municipality. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Next item.
Item 3, statement by Minister on 3.1, the state of affairs at the National Social Security Fund.
Honorable members, as I stated earlier on in my communication, this statement is pursuant to Rule 52 of the Rules of Procedure, and this matter arose in yesterday's sitting. As a fund that bears workers' money, certainty is required and is very important. The workers outside there need certainty for their money, need safety for their money, and need to know the governance issues in regard to their monies, and they need clarity. The workers' MPs are here. They are very eager to hear, and all of you, the representatives. We will therefore receive a report from the Minister of Gender, Labor and Social Development on what we hear and what is happening with the Nssf. As a house, we ought to know what is happening, because we are the voice of the voiceless. We need to be able to respond to what is happening in terms of governance issues, in terms of the finances in the Nssf. Can we hear now from the Minister? Honorable Betty Amongi Akena Ongom.
Thank you, Right Honorable Speaker and honorable colleagues. I want to wish all the members a happy new year. I think it's my first time to come since the beginning of the year. Right Honorable Speaker, this is my statement in respect to the emerging issues that has been going on in the press. I thank you for giving me this opportunity to make a statement on this matter so as to enable me to clarify several misrepresentations ongoing in social media. I'll provide an update to you on the operations of the National Social Security Fund and the implementation of its new mandate as provided for in the Nssf Act as amended. As you might be aware, the President of the Republic of Uganda, His Excellency Yoweri Kaguta Museveni, assented to the National Social Security Fund Amendment Act 2022 on 2nd January 2022. The Nssf Amendment Act commenced upon publication in the Uganda Gazette on Friday 7th January 2022, saved for Section 20A1 and 2, which commenced on 3rd March 2022 by virtue of Statutory Instrument Number 18 of 2022, Nssf Midterm Access to Benefits Regulations. The Nssf Amendment Act provides for a stakeholder board, contributions by all workers, irrespective of the size of the employer or number of employees, voluntary contributions, mid-term access to benefits, use of in-house investment expertise, introduction of additional benefits, appointment of statutory officers, offenses, and penalties. Among other objectives, the amendments are intended to expand social security coverage. And I want you to mark that because it's my mandate in the new law. Expand social security coverage. Whereas Section 4 and 13A introduce mandatory contributions by all workers, regardless of the size of the enterprise or the number of employees. In addition, the Act introduced also voluntary contributions to the fund, where a member can contribute over and above his or her standard contributions, and also where a self-employed person can apply and open a member saving account to make voluntary contributions to the fund. The second other objective is ensure compliance with the Act. Again, it is my responsibility under this new amendment. With the coming into force of these new amendments, it's imperative to drive compliance. The Nssf Amendment Act removed the requirement for a contributing employer to have 5 or more employees. The law provides that every employer, irrespective of the number of employees, shall register and make contribution to the fund. So even if you have a company and you have 1 worker, it's now mandatory that I must make you contribute. And that one is under Section 13A as amended. Nssf obligation. The National Social Security Fund is under obligation to implement this and other provisions of the Nssf Act as amended without exception. Right Honorable Speaker and colleagues may wish to note that the new law came into effect with a mandate for overall supervision of the fund placed under my ministry, being the minister in charge of social security. Oversight of the investment function of the fund was left under the minister responsible for finance. Therefore, in order to attain the strategic objectives of the new law, as the supervising minister, I directed the board to propose key initiatives that would be implemented to expand coverage of social protection and enforce compliance. Our target, which I gave the board, is to increase coverage from the current 1.3 million members with balances in Nssf to 15 million members by 2035. This is achievable because the current employer base in Uganda stands at 27,628 with an annual growth rate of 2,685 employers. With the new amendments, I directed the board to examine some of the key questions I had posed to them, including how can the fund leverage ministries, departments, and other government agencies to ensure compliance with the Nssf Act as amended. Because compliance, we cannot go alone. You will need police, you will need other people. You will need a Ministry of Investment. I again pose, how can the fund leverage the labor inspectors under the Ministry of Gender, Labor and Social Development to expand its membership recruitment and ensure employer compliance, especially at local government. This is crucial because the Employment Act gives only labor officer to have the power to go into any workplace, open and enforce the law. The other issue I raised with the board to consider was how can the fund leverage the reach and services of the Ministry of Foreign Affairs to ensure that Ugandans in the diaspora are part of the social security network. This one, after receiving a proposal from the organizers of the Uganda-UK Convention. This person who organizes the Uganda-UK Convention has given a proposal how he is able to mobilize Ugandans to save in Nssf. And indeed, when I interacted with Uganda migrant workers, when I visited United Arab Emirates in December 2021 and the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia in January 2022, a number of them also requested that they wanted to open an account under voluntary in Nssf because most of their money, when they send home, it ends up being misused by either relatives or other people. I also asked the board to examine how can the fund leverage existing groups or associations in the informal sector, such as the markets, farmers, transport sector, and other communities to begin saving with the fund. It is important to note that what informed my examination above is based on these current statistics. The working population of labor force as of now stands at 17 million. But I told you that in our data, we have 1.3 million only contributing. But the statistic shows that we have 17 million workforce, with 58%, which is 10.2 million, of them employed. 42% employed in agriculture, constituting 7.3 million. 25% employed in the formal sector, constituting 2.6 million. 75% employed in the informal sector, constituting 7.6 million. That is as per Uganda Bureau of Statistics 2021 report. It is also a data statistic that compliance rate by employers in the formal sector stands at only 51%. When I examined the data in Nssf, the information they gave me, those who are contributing are 51%, meaning 49% of employers are not remitting contributions of employees. That is why I directed that a budget allocation be made from within the fund's operation expenses of 220 billion. I asked that 6 billion be looked within the operations budget to handle compliance in accordance with Section 14 of the Nssf Act. Again, by December 31st, an examination which I was given by Nssf showed that by December 31st, 2021, 420 cases were reported by whistleblowers, and the whistleblowers were indicating that employers were non-compliant and were not remitting their funds. and that by January 17, 2022, 213 cases were registered at magistrates' court across the country. 65% in Central Region, 15% in the North, and 20% in the East and Western Region. I want to thank East and Western because your rate of people going to court are few, meaning maybe you are complying. And with that, the statistic I was given from Nssf was that 200 billion, those who had gone to court, 200 billion were unremitted contribution by defaulting employers. So if I am asking that, put 6 billion to get 200 billion, you make your assessment. That over 20 cases by employers.
You're saying you're asking for 6 billion from Nssf?
I am going to, my statement will come. I will tell you the power I have to make the budget, Right Honorable Speaker. Okay. The over 20 cases by employees are in court against Nssf, seeking recovery from Nssf their money not remitted by their employers. Again, Nssf gave me a brief that there are people who are going to court and saying, it is your mandate to enforce collection of my money. Since you have not collected my money, I am taking you, Nssf, to court. You are the one to pay because you failed to collect on my behalf. So that case, there are also those cases against Nssf in court. The other brief I got was that...
Honorable members, it is free sitting. Kindly, if you have nowhere to sit, cross over to this side. Honorable Segona is waiting for you.
Right Honorable Speaker, the other brief was that under the old law, when the new act came into force, we made an analysis of what target the new law was envisaging. And under that, we realized that only 48% of employers in the fund have 5 or more employees. So in this country, those who are employed generally, only 48% had the 5 and above. Now, with the new law, 52% needed to be brought on board under the new law in the formal sector, far higher than what was covered under the previous law. So the previous law was looking at 48%. This new law now has to target 52% more. And in the informal sector, which accounts for 75% of the total workplaces, we needed the new law now permits that we go in that informal sector. And it is the informal sector which accounts for 75% of your workplaces. Strategic initiative that I directed the board to examine and come up with the proposition. Given the background above, and with my mandate as a political supervisor, I directed the board to examine the following options in a bid to achieve the strategic objectives outlined above. Number 1, I asked them to establish an online system for whistleblowers to report non-compliance by employers who deduct money. And I told you the statistics before. The 200 billion not remitting, I asked them to put an online system where employers don't deduct and do not remit contribution, people can call and report. This intervention is important because compliance at the moment stands at only 51% in the informal sector, and yet we have been added more 52% to add as a contributing environment. I directed them to come with initiative to drive mass registration of both eligible employers and employees, considering that the law is targeting 75% of the employment categories in informal sector that were originally not captured under the old law. and an additional 52% that now have less than 5 employees as not covered under the old law. I ask them to come with initiative to drive mandatory registration by undertaking on-site registration in all industrial parks. And Right Honourable Speaker, when I came to office, the first thing I did was to visit all industrial parks. I visit plantation, and I visited road construction site. I want the committee to go there and see how workers are going to cry before you in those industrial parks. Men sitting and crying in front of me that my contributions are not being remitted. It has been deducted, it has not been remitted. So I ask the board to come up with a strategy to drive that registration so that we are able to capture these other 48% that are not on our system. And statistics from Uganda Bureau of Statistics Report 2021 indicate that the total labor force in Uganda now stands at between 15 to 19 million workers. And this constituency, we need to tap into it so that in the new benefit under the Nssf, they can be registered. I ask the board to follow up with enforcement in case of defaulting entities as per Section 14 of the Act. I ask them to strengthen collaboration with other stakeholders to support us in driving and scaling up communication. And some of the partnership that we have, which we want to scale up, is with URA, Uganda Investment Authority, because they license the investors and they're in charge of industrial park. We want to partner with other government MDAs to enforce non-registration of businesses without compliance certificate. The Act actually says, if you have a license, you're going to renew. If you don't have a compliance certificate from Nssf, you should not be renewed. So now we want to partner with the police, because police, they are the ones who do a lot of work with the security companies. Uganda Investment Authority, investment licenses, URBS, they have also all of that. UNBS, they give licenses. We want that partnership so that if you go to renew your license, you must present a compliance certificate from Nssf before you are given a renewal of license. We want to partner with Federation of Uganda Employers, with labor unions, private sector foundation, Uganda Chambers of Commerce, Uganda Manufacturers Association, for coordinating, sensitizing, creating awareness and consensus building on implementation, compliance, and enforcement. Right Honourable Speaker, you will note that the new voluntary contribution, you cannot just throw it in the face of the private sector. You must engage them. You must build consensus on what product you are going to give a private person. Because if I'm going to ask you to voluntarily save with Nssf, and it is not mandatory, I should give you a product that I might maybe say, you can save with Nssf, but if you want to borrow from your saving, you can borrow up to maybe 50 or this percentage, but the rest remain for retirement. So we want a product that is acceptable. We don't want to force, because the law says it is voluntary contribution. So that is why we need all these people to work with us. Colleagues, these strategic initiatives were considered by the board, and the chairman wrote to me on 10th June 2022, indicating how the activities had been budgeted for. And Annex 1, I have given all the attachment, is showing the letter from the chairman of the board, stating that these initiatives you have directed us, we've come up with ABCD, and these are the areas that we can start with in this financial year. Then on 25th of November 2022, the chairman called a board meeting at Serena Hotel, and a detailed corresponding activities for which an allocation of 6 billion was presented. And I think this is where the contention is. The board, after I directed them, came with the initiative. The management was tasked to come with those activities, and they presented it to the board and myself. And this presentation was led by the then Managing Director, Mr. Richard Biarogaba, his deputy, and 2 other technical team. And they gave a detailed roadmap and work plan, and I want to lay on table the detailed work plan that the then MD and his team gave me that will constitute the activities under NSSF under the 6 billion. I beg to lay. Right Honorable Speaker, I also want to state that the 6 billion budget I approved is appropriated under the NSSF operations budget for financial year 2022-2023. And the work plan has been presented to me by the board and management, as already stated, on 25th November 2022. That the activities I have mentioned above are NSSF activities, not that of Ministry of Gender, Labour and Social Development. As a minister, I don't have mandate to approve the budget of Ministry of Gender. I have the legal mandate to approve the budget of NSSF. These activities will be undertaken by NSSF in partnership with relevant entities, be it government agency or private sector players. The Ministry of Gender, Labour and Social Development will only provide oversight and support the fund in the implementation of these activities, in line with its legal mandate as the ministry responsible for social security through our labor officers at the district. And I'm sure those who come from district, you know that you have labor officers, and it is their mandate to propel contribution collection. And I acted within my mandate. I acted within my mandate provided under Section 29 of the NSSF Act, which gives me power to approve the budget estimates of the income, capital, recurrent, and other expenditure of the fund. Specifically, Section 29(3) states that the minister shall, upon receipt of the annual budget or any supplementary budget, approve or disapprove the budget, or may approve it, subject to such amendments as he or she may deem fit. Investigation. Should I continue?
Yes. I like that.
Right, Honorable Speaker.
Under Section 29, annual and supplementary budgets, it says the minister shall. Which minister? There are 2 ministers that are responsible for NSSF. There is Minister of Finance and Minister of Gender. Which minister?
That is the Minister of Gender. The law defines the minister as only one minister, that in charge of Social Security. Where Ministry of Finance has a role, that specific provision states that minister in charge of finance. Right, Honorable Speaker?
I wanted the record clear.
Okay, thank you. Investigations. Right, Honorable Speaker, a number of petitions had been presented to several authorities, including HE, the President, Right Honorable Prime Minister, the Coordinator of Operation Wealth Creation, the Inspector General of Government, and myself as Minister of Gender, Labour and Social Development. Consequently, several stakeholders' meetings were conducted, including those that I refer to in my letter of 7th December 2022, addressed to the NSSF Board Chairperson, which ultimately resulted into the board referring the issues raised in all those petitions to the IGG for investigations. And I want to put it on record, the letter from the chairman of the board, because this one is important. Dated 27th December 2022, Inspector, the Inspectorate of Government, Parliamentary Avenue, PO Box 1682, Kampala. Investigation into alleged mismanagement of National Social Security Fund. The Board of Directors of National Social Security Fund recommended to the Honorable Minister of Gender, Labour and Social Development the reappointment of Mr. Richard Byarugaba as Managing Director. However, before the final decision could be made on the appointment, the Honorable Minister received certain information containing allegations of mismanagement of the fund. On that basis, and after consultation with His Excellency, the President of Uganda, the decision to appoint the Managing Director was deferred pending investigations into those allegations. The purpose of this letter, therefore, is to request you to carry out an investigation in those allegations. The details of the petitions to the Minister and the preliminary document.
Honorable Minister, when was the consultation with the President in regard to
on 22nd December.
22nd December?
Yes.
When did the President write to you and was asking you to always consult?
I think that was maybe May or June. I don't have that letter. I didn't carry it. But what has led to this investigation is consultation. Based on the letter of the President, we met the President first with the team that is in that letter, and certain other consultations were undertaken, and again he called us back now with the board, me and the board, on 22nd December.
So when did he give instructions to the Prime Minister to reappoint the Richard Byarugaba and the deputy?
That one I think is the question for the Right Honorable Prime Minister, because I'm not privy to a discussion between HE and the Right Honorable Prime Minister.
The Prime Minister wrote to you, Madam Betty.
Yes.
And she's your boss. She wrote to you that this is the directive I've got from the President, that we should reappoint these two people.
Right Honorable Speaker, like I stated, we met His Excellency together with the Right Honorable Prime Minister, and the discussion therein was for me to go back with the board because the issues raised needed the board. Now, in between that time and our meeting, me and the board and His Excellency, on 22nd December, I cannot account for the discussion because I didn't get any other written letter from HE, the President, directing me, except for me waiting for a meeting that he had directed that I would have with the board and him, which took place on 22nd.
Honorable MD, Byarugaba was reached 60 years. That's the basis of his leaving office, not so? What was the basis of his leaving office?
One, both of them had reached 60 years, which is mandatory retirement age. I consulted public service. Public service indicated to me that we can only move and give them the two contract. The board sat and gave them a contract of 3 years and recommended to me first. When they recommended to me, again, there was a verbal communication from Attorney General indicating that the opinion that came from public service and also the opinion that had come from Solicitor General reaffirming that at the end of their term, they are only required to get a contract of 2 years as per the human resource of Nssf. That opinion, the two opinion, was overturned by the Attorney General. So then the board again sat. The board sat again and now recommended the 5 years on 28th of November.
Recommended for who?
Richard Byarugaba and Ayota.
So the current MD is Richard Byarugaba?
No. When you recommend, the minister then have to appoint. So they recommended to me 2 names, one for managing director and one for deputy. I already articulated and started with talking about petitions to the president and others. In all the strategic meetings we were having, it was how do we handle the petition? And so that is when the meeting of 22nd with HE decided that since, and I want to state here that Richard Biarogaba was in State House on 22nd when that decision was made. The decision that since there are petitions, let the petitions be referred for investigation and let him stay out of office as per the legal framework that when you're being investigated, you stay out of office, but that the position should not be advertised or filled until investigation is concluded.
Was that in writing? Kindly help me with that letter. Was that in writing?
Which one?
On that decision.
The decision of HE, the president?
Yes.
Of 22nd?
Yes.
The decision was in a meeting, and that
was 22nd what?
22nd December.
There was a letter from the president of 6th August. Honorable members, there was a letter of 6th August written to Honorable Betty Amongi Ongom, Minister of Gender, and this was appointment of Deputy Managing Director, National Social Security Fund, Nssf on contract. I have seen your letter dated 20th July 2022, appointing Mr. Anyota as the Deputy Managing Director, Nssf. Because we need a new group, because the current one have both attained the age of 60 years, it is better one consults quietly about disappointments before deciding. In the case of Nssf, the present group seemed to have done a good job growing the fund from 1.7 trillion in 2010 to 17.2 trillion where it is as of now. Good performance is not a common practice in parastatals where it occurs. The actors should be appreciated. Therefore, let us discuss this in my top management team with the Vice President, the Prime Minister, Minister of Finance, Attorney General, and yourself around 20th of August 2022. I have been told Mr. Biarugaba's term ends in December 2022. By copy of this letter, our principal private secretary is informed to arrange for a meeting. That was in August. In December, on the 7th December, the Prime Minister of the Republic of Government of Uganda, who is none other than Honorable Robin Nabanja, wrote to Honorable Amongi, Minister of Labor and Social Development, appointment of Mr. Richard Biarugaba as a Managing Director of the National Social Security Fund, and the appointment of Patrick Anyota as a Deputy Managing Director. I just wanted you to have that information.
Right, Honorable.
Yes.
Thank you, Right Honorable Speaker. The procedure matter I want to seek your guidance on is on the issue of tabling evidence when we are in this house. We've had previous incidents where ministers keep referring to meeting with the president. And of course, most of us are not privy to attend those meetings. I think it would make, isn't it procedure right that when someone mentions a meeting and a decision in that meeting, they subsequently table that document so that for the members to confirm that actually there was such a meeting?
Actually, that's why I was asking, is there documentary evidence to that effect? For me, I have my evidence. I can actually, somebody can, I have the evidence on the letters that were written. That's why I was writing. So I want a subsequent letter where the president revoked the decision. And then the prime minister.
Right Honorable Speaker, as you read that letter was replying to my letter. If you read it, the way you read it, it is replying to my letter. And the reply to my letter, the operational word there was that we go and have a meeting. I want to confirm that that meeting took place. And the decision in the meeting where I, the Vice President, the Prime Minister, the Attorney General, and Honorable Kasaija is here, was in that meeting. The meeting that letter was calling, we were there. Honorable Kasaija is here. And in that meeting, the President directed that a follow-up meeting be organized where the board, because the Nssf is the board that takes charge of the recommendation, and if there are issues, the board has to own it. So we couldn't make a decision there without the board's input. So it is at that point,
there is an order.
You are disputing the board's mandate.
Thank you very much, Madam Speaker. Yeah, I'm out of pain. I'm at pain, Madam Speaker, specifically for one reason. You have the documentation with you, Madam Speaker, and here is a minister telling the House or even the country that if you have read the letter. The letter is already with the Speaker. And I think this House should not tolerate that kind of, treatment. She's a presiding officer. She has the letter that you're making reference to. And you're saying if Speaker...
He's on order.
Yes. And the minister is saying if you have read the letter. I don't see the humility and the honor given to the presiding officer. Madam Speaker, is the minister in order to make their statement? You have the statement or the letter on your table, and I fully believe, that before the Speaker or presiding officer comes to the House, she has or he has internalized and processed the documentation. Madam Speaker, is she in order?
Honorable Minister, we need all the correspondences in regard to your communication between you, the Prime Minister, you and the President, and any other document that revokes the decisions that were made before. And when you look at section 29, which you're referring to, that gives you the power on finances, but I also want you to interest you on section 39 of the Nssf Act. Under section 39(2), it says, first of all, there shall be a managing director of the fund who shall be appointed by the minister for such a period and such terms and conditions. But 2, the managing director shall be the chief executive of the fund, and shall, subject to this Act, to the general control of the board matters of policy, and be responsible for the general management, administration, and organization of the fund. General management, administration of the fund. So that's where now the 6 billion comes in. There is a chief executive who is accountable for this money. Now, it is this chief executive who is supposed to do the general management. Much as you approve as the minister, are you the one who is supposed to be accountable for this money? Under Articles 164 of the Constitution, the accounting officer is the person responsible for the accountability of the money that is given to an institution. So much as we have the powers as ministers, and honorable members, I want you to listen. Much as we have powers as ministers, we should not misuse the powers. Let's allow the accounting officers to manage their votes.
Right Honorable, I want to thank you for that. And when I made this statement, I have laid on table a document that the MD, Richard Biarogaba, presented to the board about the 6 billion and the work plan. It is not me. I only gave them strategic guidance only, and I will take your guidance that we continue to cooperate and work, but in this circumstance, I did not and I cannot be the one to execute the mandate like I've stated in the statement.
Honorable Minister, yes. Did you say previously that the board had recommended the appointment of the 2 persons, the MD and the deputy MD?
Yes. I said the board first recommended for 3 years. Then later for 5 years.
And why did you go against the board's decision?
Right Honorable Speaker, I indicated...
When you look at Section 18 of the Act, there shall be a managing director of the fund appointed by the minister on the recommendation of the board. And if the board made a recommendation, why didn't you appoint? Honorable Minister, can you?
Right Honorable Speaker, as ministers, we are appointed by the President. And when we are appointed and recommended to this Parliament, we come before Appointments Committee. In the Appointment Committee, you have the power to examine, and if you have any petition, and I've been in Appointment Committee for 10 years, if you have any issue and a petition is with you, I have seen how we have scrutinized. And at the end of it, if those petitions are cleared, you have cleared us. So when the board recommends to the minister, and a petition comes, which is fundamental, I consulted. And that consultation led to a decision that please first hold on. And by the way, we were given 60 days to undertake that investigation. So that is the circumstances under which I only deferred, and we are waiting for this conclusion of investigation. Then I will conclude based on whether what is investigated has got no basis, or if it has got basis, I consult again, refer back to the board, and we make a final decision.
Honorable Betty, the clarifications I'm seeking from you are not that we want anybody to be appointed. We want the House to know what is happening. We want the House to know what is in the law, why you did not do it. Is it because of the investigation? And if the investigation is there, how far has it gone? Okay? But first finish the report.
Thank you.
But procedure,
Procedure, Madam Speaker.
Honorable, let's receive the final part of the report, then we now go and debate.
Okay.
I just needed clarification for you to understand what on those specific.
Yes. Thank you, Right Honorable. I go to 4.0. Right Honorable Speaker, a number of petitions had been presented to several authorities, including HE the President, Right Honorable Prime Minister, the Coordinator of Operation Wealth Creation, the Inspector General of Government, and myself as Minister of Gender, Labour and Social Development. Consequently, several stakeholders' meetings were conducted, including those I referred to in my letter of 7th December 2022, addressed to the Nssf Board Chairperson, which ultimately resulted into the board referring the issues raised to IGG for investigation. And allow me to lay on table the letter from the board chair, Dr. Peter Kimboa, referring the matter for investigation. Surface, it's to clarify.
Yes. Love has something to say.
Thank you very much. The minister has just said, Right Honourable Speaker, that she authored a letter. She authored a letter on 7th. Before she gives us the response, she should lay on table the one she authored, then the response from the board.
The one to the president.
No, the one
to the board.
To the board. She should lay first the one she authored to the board, and then the response.
Right Honourable Speaker, in administrative law, I have seen Honourable Segwana already. In administrative law, there are two forms of communication. There is communication which is referred to as internal communication. Such internal communication between a minister and our staff or our board member is a matter which is internal. However, other communications that are meant, and in some circumstances, there are facts that are meant for the board only. Not, yes. It's like if I'm in my house, you have a sitting room and a bedroom.
Procedure,
so,
Madam Speaker.
I want to request and find out from you.
Procedure,
I did not carry that letter because a letter was internal.
Procedure, Madam Speaker. Procedure, Madam Speaker. No.
Should I proceed?
Madam Speaker, Madam Speaker, Madam Speaker, the minister herself in 4.0, members read 4.0, she has just intimated to this house, told this house, that when you read 4.0, consequently several stakeholders meetings were conducted, including those that I referred to in my letter of 7th December 2022 addressed to NSS board chairperson. If you have the ability to tell the house about this letter, kindly lay it before the house, then also the response that you're happy to lay here. Because then if it's already out and you're documenting in some of the documents, we need to know as the house.
There is a letter which has been laid by Honorable Monge, that is for 27th December 2022. It has been laid on the table. We will not interrogate you on this letter. we will need time to look at all the letters that are being laid on table. But we need also the letter of 20th July 2022, which you wrote to the President regarding the appointment of Mr. Ayota. Because the President is referring, I have seen your letter of 20th July 2022 appointing Ayota, the Deputy Managing Director, Nssf.
You want the letter I wrote to the President?
Yes.
Right Honorable, the letter I wrote to the President was giving a general overview. It was not specific. So I bring that one.
That is the one we want.
Okay, I will bring.
Because
right Honorable,
according to the President, it's specific that you are appointing Mr. Ayota, and then there was also a letter to the board.
I will bring the letter I wrote to His Excellency.
Okay. Even to the board, eh?
Suffice to clarify that the meeting I referred to of the...
There's a procedural matter from Joan.
The Right Honourable Speaker, thank you. Right Honourable, we made a directive that the Minister should bring the letter dated 7th December 2022 and claims that it's a personal letter. If you copy a document to a person, it seems to be an internal memo. You've already copied other entities. The Speaker has directed that you bring this letter to this House and table it. Are you in order? Now I'm even going to order. Are you in order not to accept that directive by the Speaker and you bypass it as if you have not heard?
Honorable members, I don't want you to dilute your powers as members of Parliament. Under Article 9 of the Constitution and Rule 282 of the Rules of Procedure, it gives powers to Parliament of Uganda to compel production of any document, even if it is a private one between you and your husband. We want any document. No, anyway, that was a joke, Betty. We want all the documentation in regard to Nssf.
Procedure, Honourable Speaker.
Yes. Honourable Betty, we are acting under Article 90 and Rule 208(2) of the Rules of Procedure, compelling you to give us all the documentation in regard to your communication, be it internal or whichever. We are looking at the workers' fund.
Yeah.
And I don't know where you did your administrative law from, which law school, but anyway, these days there is a law school in NASA.
Yes.
There's a procedural matter.
There's a procedural matter. Right Honourable Speaker, I've been observing my senior colleagues here on the front bench, the shadow cabinet ministers, the way they are reacting. It is evident that the letter to which we want the minister to lay on table is actually here with us. She can look at it, and if it is the real letter, then she lays this one on table, other than, because the information is already with us, and we are eagerly waiting for the debate. So the letter is here with us. If it so serves the purpose, allow us, give it to us as she lays it.
Honourable members, according to the documents that I got from the Minister, Honourable Amongi, that letter is inclusive. Leave alone the ones the shadow has. But the letter is inclusive in the documents that you gave me. Could you kindly lay it on table? I'm giving you my copy, which you gave me.
Right Honourable Speaker, I will bring the letters.
You gave me that letter as part of your documents.
No, I did not come. Right Honourable Speaker, I did not come.
Honourable Betty, you gave me the documents this afternoon. That is part of your documents. Look at it.
Madam. Yeah. Madam Speaker.
Let's give the minister time to look at the documents. Honorable Minister Finance, you have something to say?
Thank you very much.
Honorable members, listen to the minister.
Honorable Speaker and the colleagues, we are listening to a very interesting case. Unfortunately, I was not informed to come prepared to this house. No, I don't want to come and talk to you when I'm not prepared. Hey, I was taught that way, that when you are talking to important people, you prepare yourself. Therefore,
honorable members, listen to the minister.
Therefore, with humility, I want Madam Speaker to be released to go and check what I want, what I will present, and whatever Parliament asks for me, I am ready to come tomorrow and present it. So I beg.
Honorable members. Honorable members. Honorable members. You've heard from the minister. And he's being sincere. No, I asked for a report from both of them. From Minister of Finance, and for him he's making a disclaimer. Now, NSA, Honorable Minister, for you, you can even go. No, he has something he's going to do. Honorable members, the document that we are referring to of 7th December 2022 is a deferral of appointment of the MD Nssf pending clarification on emerging issues. This is as simple as that. Just lay on table. We are not going to interrogate it now.
Right Honorable Speaker, I beg to lay the letter dated 7th December 2022 addressed to the Chairperson Board of Directors, National Social Security Fund on deferral of appointment of MD Nssf pending clarifications on emerging issues.
Thank you, and signed by none other than Mrs. Hakena.
Can I proceed?
Yes, please proceed.
Right Honorable Speaker, suffice to note is to clarify that the meeting I referred to of the board's visit to meet General Salim Saleh, Coordinator Operation Wealth Creation in Kapeka on 6 December 22, had an intention of establishing how a private industrial park with a big number of workers can inform strategies for the fund to enroll these as members and contributors of Nssf, as well as on other strategic issues in line with the mandate of the fund. And I want to confirm that the Kapeka Industrial Park has given us already support to go and register and undertake that. Safety of members saving. As I had earlier stated, the Ministry of Gender, Labour and Social Development is in charge of supervision and operational matters, while safety of savings and investments is a mandate of the Ministry of Finance, Planning and Economic Development. In our various engagements with the management of the fund, and during our recent meeting with the Committee of Finance, Planning and Economic Development, it has been repeatedly stated that members' funds are safe and invested as clarified hereunder. 1. The operations of the fund are based on the following business model. Funds are collected from employee and employer. That is the mandate of gender. Funds are invested, mandate of finance. Funds are then paid back to beneficiaries, that is the members. That is operational gender. The second is supporting the business model are 3 rings of defense: legal management, risk management and internal audit, which is assurance management. These rings of defense are to ensure that the operations of the fund are managed within an environment that minimizes risk to workers' savings. On an overall basis, all the 3 defenses are very functional at the fund. I know that the various control oversight levels have continued to work normally. Management is being held accountable. The reports from the control functions still report to an independent oversight committee of the board, and equally UBRA as a regulator is mandated to oversee the investment and other portfolio. I want to comment on each aspect of the business model specifically as it pertains to the safety of the members' fund. Collection of contribution, which is my mandate. I'm glad to report that collections are going on normally. Amazingly, during the month of December, the fund collected, I'm talking about December, amazingly, Honorable Kivumbi, my friend, amazingly, during the month of December, the fund collected approximately 148 billion. This has been the highest monthly collection for the fund ever in our record. This brought total collections for the 6 months, that is July to December, ending 2022, to Uganda shillings 786 billion. 6 months, compared to the 651 billion, that is 21% higher than at the same period in the previous year. This increased contribution is evidence that there is trust that savers have in continuing to contributing to the fund. Investment. The fund invests in 3 main classes of assets: fixed income, equity, which is stocks, and real estate. The fixed income portfolio is invested in government bonds, which are the safest investment instruments, for they are guaranteed by sovereign governments. As of the end of December 2022, fixed income constitutes 78% of the investment portfolio. Equities constitute 15% of the portfolio. Equity portfolio consists of blue chip companies like Safaricom, MTN. Real estate consists of only 7% of the investment portfolio. This is the same asset mix for the fund over the last 5 years. So the investment of the fund are as safe as they were 5 years ago. Benefit payment. The payment of benefits is based on eligibility that is laid down in the law. The fund has approved procedures to ensure that criteria laid down are followed. And indeed they are. For the 6 months ending December 2022, the fund has paid, these are benefits to the member. The fund has paid a total of 712 billion to 22,242 savers, compared to 356 billion that was paid to 15,065 savers. The increase in payment during the current 6-month period was the payment of midterm benefits that was non-existent in the previous period. My office has not received any complaints that a genuine beneficiary applicant has been denied his or her benefits because there are midterm benefits. There are people who are raising some issues. I can assure the members that benefit processing is continuing normally as before. Interest to members. There is concern that has been expressed as to whether members will receive a fair interest. First, it's important to note that interest earned from the incomes of the fund are subject to macroeconomic conditions. Notwithstanding that dependency, In the budget that I approved in June 2022, the fund had made a provision to pay members 10-year average inflation plus 200 basis points. As of December 2022, the fund is on course to fulfill the commitment. And that is a legal commitment that they gave me on the basis of approving their operation budget, that they will ensure that members will get 10-year average inflation plus 200 basis points. Therefore, the value of members' saving is protected from erosion caused by inflation. Conclusion. In summary, Right Honorable Speaker and members funds are safe. And I want to repeat that members' funds are safe and protected. And you have seen the statistics of the payment we have done in the last 2 months. While the board preferred to address the petition and allegations addressed to me and the authorities I outlined above to the relevant investigating authorities. Those that require a forensic audit were accordingly referred to the Auditor General, and those bordering on impropriety, abuse of office, or corruption to the Inspectorate of Government, with a request that their findings be shared within a period of 60 days. Considering the fact that these issues are now a subject of investigations, at the end of which a final decision on the fate of the former MD, Richard Byarugaba, will be determined, I beg not to go into details of the grounds that are therein. I thank you, Right Honourable Speaker and honourable members, and I beg to submit.
Thank you so much, Minister of Gender, for the elaborate report. Some of us have now gotten to know what we have been hearing on social media. Yes, Lop.
Thank you very much, Right Honourable Speaker. First of all, for according this subject very ample time, because there are so many Ugandans listening in to know the fate of their money. Right Honourable Speaker, the member who raised this matter yesterday raised critical
Honourable,
matters.
I am the one who raised the matter in my communication. It came out of my communication. I know, but yes. I know you are not in yesterday, but right, Honourable right, Alan spoke to it.
Right Honourable Speaker.
Procedure.
Procedure,
Mr. Speaker. Madam Speaker.
No, we are just correcting something small. It's not anything fundamental.
No,
Right Honourable Speaker,
mine is on a procedural matter.
Yes.
Yesterday
mine is
I
a
was
procedural matter. So, Right Honourable Speaker, I think there is unwritten rule in this House that the top leaders speak last. They sum up. Yes. Now that you are saying the law looks like we are closing the debate, I wish the law
we are not closing the debate.
Be patient and allow us the small guns. Then you can come the big guns.
We are not closing the debate. He just needs some clearance to guide your debate.
Right Honourable Speaker, thank you very much. I read the answered when I was informed that I will act as LOP today. And one of the critical matter that was raised was that the minister had been accused of forcing the Nssf managing director out of office because he denied her access to the money. 6 billion. Right Honourable Speaker, when you read this document that we forced the minister to lay today, that statement comes out that the Richard Byarugaba defied the minister's approved budget. And in there, they go on to explain, the minister goes on, this is her document. She goes on to explain how Richard Byarugaba refused to approve the money, the 6 billion, and several other aspects, Right Honourable Speaker, that the minister chooses Richard Byarugaba and the team in this document. Right, Honourable Speaker, what is most
Honourable Member,
concern?
it is unfortunate that other members have not looked at this document, and it would be prudent enough for us to have copies given to all the other members. You can raise those issues,
Yes.
but we'll interrogate this document further.
Yes, Right Honourable Speaker. That's why I'm not going to go into reading it, but I wanted to highlight that this document raises very many serious issues that this Parliament and the savers with the Nssf must pick interest in, because the minister herself is showing how the Nssf is being mismanaged. And, Right Honourable Speaker, I expected the minister to come before this House to defend some of these positions, because she has said these constituted part of her meeting with the president. And she's claiming out of the meeting with the president, they reconsidered the appointment. She has just said that. So, Right Honourable Speaker, the minister, instead of taking time, taking us through how the fund is doing, the public has these documents. The document is already in the public domain. The savers have the document because it is out. So we would spend this time, the minister trying to inform the public about this document that is with them, that she authored herself, and we see how to help our fund, Right Honourable Speaker. And the more we keep beating around the bush, around these things that you have, Right Honourable Minister, the more we are causing trouble within the fund. So, Right Honourable Speaker, I don't know how we're going to move, Right Honourable Speaker, but the issues raised in the document of 7th to the Board of Directors are more important to this House, and I pray that we find the time to discuss them in one way or the other so that the public can gain confidence about what the matters raised. Thank you very much, Right Honourable Speaker.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yes, Honourable.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. And I also would like to thank you for letting this matter come to House. Some of us at times don't pay much attention to social media, but when at times things come like this, then we tend to get to know. Madam Speaker, I would like also to thank the Minister that she came out to tell us about what happened. Madam Speaker, we have letters written by the Prime Minister, and I would also like to at least request these honorable ministers at times to respect the authority. We have another minister who has somehow refused even to pay attention to the committees despite begging her to come and say sorry. Now here we also have a minister whom I think she refused also to take the authorities' directive. Honorable Nabanja is the Prime Minister. She wrote a letter on 7th talking about what the President had requested them about this matter. But despite all that later, even in the last paragraph, she said according to the investigations, she investigated. But the minister is telling us that she also...
Macho, come back. Come back and sit. Yes, yes.
When it's like that, it's okay.
Honorable members, the minister is talking about our able Prime Minister.
Yes, the Prime Minister wrote about the same matter. And then the minister says she got petitions, and then investigations went on. Who did better investigations? And she's saying that now she's giving another investigations. Why don't we trust the Prime Minister? Madam Speaker, we have a saying in our language. I would first say it in the language and then tell you what it means in English. That obenta mayanje fuire nubwemsenire byoya. Literally meaning, what a coincidence that after my sheep has disappeared, then the dog, the hyena actually, pieces the fur. I hope you piece. Yes, piece it. Yes, defecates the fur. So, well, what literally means that when this 6 billion matter came up, that's when Dr. Byargaba was told that please set aside their petitions, their what. But when you again tell us that the fund was doing very well, because you showed it in your own report that in 2021 it was just in some few months raised 165 billion, and then in 1 month it is moving because the system is there. And also, Madam Speaker, there is the deputy. When I'm deputizing my chair, Honorable Babiku, when anything happens in the Committee of Presidential, we are liable, both of us.
Jointly.
Jointly, we are liable. So what is so special that now you retain the deputy and then this one you say, God, can they all be set aside as you investigate? So that we see that there is some fairness and we don't have any of this suspicion. Honorable Minister, I want to tell you that there is a lot of suspicion on this matter. You better even hold it sparingly and very carefully, that it will not even cause you also problems. Because it involves a lot of money, and this is people's money, not our money. It is people's money, the people who contribute, and then they hear this and that. They don't feel happy. I beg to submit, Madam Speaker.
Honorable, yes, let me hear from Martin.
Thank you, Right Honourable Speaker.
Please, then I will hear from the workers after Kia.
Thank you, Right Honourable Speaker. Right Honourable Speaker, I have heard very well the submission from the Minister. It involves a lot of documentation, and as we speak, most of us, we don't have those papers. Right Honourable Speaker, the matter is very complex in nature. It requires detailed investigation. And I would want to suggest, Right Honourable Speaker, that if it is procedurally well, that you constitute a committee to investigate this matter. Yes. I take the information, Right Honourable
Honourable Kia.
Thank you for taking
Honourable
the information.
Kia.
Thank you, Right Honourable Speaker, for
Honourable Kia.
Thank you, Right Honourable Speaker, for facilitating this debate that we're having today. I also want to thank the Minister for the statement which she has made, because on a personal level, it has cleared up a little bit on the 6 billion. I would also like to suggest that the committee responsible for the Ministry and Nssf could hear from different stakeholders, maybe call Mr. Richard Byargaba, call the Minister and other stakeholders and hear from them. I don't know if we need a select committee, but there's already a committee which handles this, this docket. The one thing I wanted to ask the Minister, in the strategic initiative to expand on contributions, have you put in consideration that we have just come out of COVID and businesses are struggling? They're struggling to break even. So even as they pay their staff, they may not even have the money, the 10% that they are required to make contributions, but they are still declaring the money that they're supposed to pay, but they're unable. What support can Nssf, what support can government give to those businesses that are struggling to make sure that their staff are paid, to make sure that the workers still have jobs? Because the alternative would be to send the workers home, because we're not making, many businesses are not breaking even in such times. So as much as we're trying to expand on contributions, and get new businesses on board. What are we doing to support the businesses that are already struggling and limping to make ends meet and to keep those workers on staff?
Thank you. Mrs. Okia, the other question would be, what are we doing to protect the already existing fund in terms of corporate governance? And that is the question. We already have a fund of 17 trillion. What are we doing as legislators to ensure that this money is not tampered with? Workers, Alan.
Thank you so much, Right Honorable Speaker. Right Honorable Speaker, Nssf is the only hope for the workers after retirement, apart from public servants. I remember in 2007, I was appointed a board member of Nssf and served for 3 years. That was after issues of Nssf with then the MD Jamwa. We recruited a new team, including Richard Byaragawa. They have run the fund up to today. However, so many issues have been coming up and being silenced sometimes. It is good that today we are debating these issues before maybe the fund again goes back to that bad situation. All these things that are coming up, there is no smoke without fire. And therefore, I don't know which better institutions that can investigate these cases. We may get excited and debate on these top issues, but deep inside, they must be serious issues which need thorough investigations. You see, recently I saw they were launching very beautiful houses in Rubowa. But when I was asking, one house on 15 decimals costs about 3 billion. It's a mansion, they call it a mansion, a villa. I don't know which Ugandan can buy honest for 15 decimals. I am told there are issues on the pension house. I'm told there are cracks whereby we have sunk in a lot of money. Big time money, Right Honorable Speaker. Right Honorable Speaker, I want us to handle this issue carefully. There are mafias in town who are already testing this. There is a promise of building a minister's village in Bwebaja. They are all targeting that. And therefore, we need to be very, very, very careful. There will be lobbyists around. They will approach everybody. They want to be heard everywhere. They have been with bloggers in social media. Kindly, Right Honorable Speaker, offer leadership and see that these things are investigated by bodies and personalities that are serious, that can go deep and find facts and save workers' money. Right Honorable Speaker.
Thank you so much, workers. I am already offering leadership just for your information. And one thing I need to let members know, that is, I don't want to say it is cost money, but that money of workers. I grew up knowing that whoever goes for workers' money goes to prison.
God forbid.
So many people are rotting in prison because of workers' money, and it is our responsibility as Parliament to restore hope in the public. And in restoration of that hope, we must make sure that there is good governance, the workers' money is safe, and ensure that the board is doing its work. And under Rule 190, I am referring this to a select committee, and we shall have very able people who can never be compromised to handle this matter. I will announce the names of the 5 people on Monday. On Monday, I will announce the names of the 5 members of the select committee. Yes.
Right Honourable Speaker, mine is not a procedural matter, but I'm seeking guidance. First, I'm relieved. I'm relieved that you're creating a select committee to handle this matter, because the matters are very important. May I propose in the same line, pursuant to Rules 16 and Rule 190, as you pointed out, that you be pleased and fortified in your decision to constitute the select committee as you envisaged. I thank you.
Thank you, and as said, we are suspending Rule 45 for us to have rule and invoke Rule 190 for us to have a select committee. And we will give the names on Monday of the select committee. Thank you, Council. Next item. Pardon?
Item 3.2, statement on government business for the succeeding week.
I got an apology from the government. The leader of government business is not going to be here. We requested for her time because we have a report that is supposed to be presented. So the Prime Minister gave us, she will not be here to present that. She gave us her time. I'm not sure if she has delegated.
Item 4.
Item 4.
Laying of papers.
Honorable Commissioner Emeritus. Honorable members, we've been receiving the park reports, Park Osase, Park Local Government, Park Central. We are completing the reports today as per Article 163(5) of the Constitution, and now we are receiving the new reports. We want all these new reports to be presented back to the House before the State of Nation address.
Right Honorable Speaker, I beg today reports of Auditor General on value for money audit reports. Right Honorable Speaker, A, the effectiveness of mechanisms established for management of road equipment by the Ministry of Works and Transport. B,
thank you. The report is referred to Park Central.
I beg today.
Thank you.
B, Right Honorable Speaker, I beg today on table the promotion
Honorable
of safe...
members, let's settle. We have a very important report on Park. You need to know how your ministries are performing.
I beg today the promotion of safe and sustainable management of electronic waste in Uganda by Ministry of Information and Communication, Technology and National Guidance. I beg today.
Thank you. Refer to the Committee of Park Central.
I beg today, Right Honorable Speaker, government's effort for eliminating intimate partner violence against women in line with the national agreed target linked to SDGs 5 and 2. I beg today.
Thank you. Refer to Park Central. Honorable, I'm seeing some of you leave. We are going to adjourn the house later to Monday. There is a sitting on Monday.
I beg today.
And at midday.
Thank you so much, Honorable Speaker. I beg today small and mini independent power producers under Get Fit scheme in Uganda by Uganda Electricity Regulatory Authority. I beg today.
Refer to Park Kosase.
Right Honorable Speaker, report on the Auditor General on the financial statement of Uganda Petroleum Fund for financial year ended 30th June 2022. I beg today.
Refer to Park Central.
Right Honorable Speaker, I beg today report on Auditor General on financial statement on financial statement of the period 1st January to 31st December 2021 for the following: climate change and infectious disease health approach project under NOHAD in program 2 program. I beg today.
Thank you. Park Central.
Right Honorable Speaker, I beg today the Norwegian program for capacity building in higher education and research for development, NOHAD 2. I beg today, Right Honorable Speaker.
Thank you. Park Central.
I beg today the capacity building for socially just and sustainable energy transmission in East Africa, in bracket CAST project. I beg today, Right Honorable Speaker.
Park Central.
I beg today enhanced capacity for wet source in East Africa and South Africa project under NOHAD 2.
Park Central.
Right Honorable Speaker, I beg today climate smart agriculture in sub-Saharan Africa project under NOHAD 2 project. I beg today.
Park Central.
I beg today refugee on move and South Sudanese in Ethiopia, Sudan, and Uganda project. I beg today, Right Honorable Speaker.
Park Central.
G, co-creating knowledge for local adaptation to climate change in LDCs project under NOHAD 2 program.
Park Central.
Right Honorable Speaker, I beg today transformative education and lifelong learning for sustainable growth TELS project under the HAD 2 program.
Park Central.
I beg today mathematics for sustainable development project.
Park Central.
I beg today gender digitization across next text gendering project. I beg today.
Park Central.
Right Honorable Speaker, Auditor's report and audited financial statement for Office of the Auditor General, Vote 131 for the year 2001-2002. 1. Annual report for Auditor General to Parliament for the financial year end 30th June 2022. Consolidated audit findings. I beg today, Right Honorable Speaker.
Park Central.
I beg to lay annual report of the Auditor General to Parliament for the financial year end June 30, 2022. Consolidated audit findings. I beg to lay.
To respective PAC committees.
5, Right Honorable Speaker, thematic reports on the Audit General on compliance audit of the management of information and technology investment in government. I beg to lay.
Please lay to PAC
B,
Central.
management of public land and selected MDs and local governments. I beg to lay.
Thank you. Different PACs.
I beg to lay the payroll management. I beg to lay, Right Honorable Speaker, the government's preparedness to implement parish development model. I beg to lay.
Thank you. To different PACs.
I beg to lay the last budget performance. I beg to lay, Right Honorable Speaker.
Thank you. Different PACs.
Thank you so much, Right Honorable Speaker.
Thank you. We are going to, the next item we are going to is PAC, the PAC report. Honorable Segona.
Item 5. Motion for adoption of the report of the Committee on Public Accounts Central Government on the report of the Auditor General on entities under the health sector for the financial year 2020-2021.
Honorable members, over the last 2 sittings we have been talking about Article 1635 of the Constitution, and today we are going to consider the PAC Central Government. They've done a good job. I've seen the reports that they have presented. PAC Central, can you come and give us an executive summary of cross-cutting issues in health? And thereafter, we'll adopt all the reports, including those that have not been considered by the committee.
Right Honourable Speaker, I want to thank you very much, and honourable colleagues, for the opportunity extended to the Public Accounts Committee, Central Government. Madam Speaker, as I did request you earlier in the week, the committee has been engaged in a series of activities scrutinizing the reports of the Auditor General in relation to the MDAs that fall under our jurisdiction. I want to thank you, first of all, for whipping us and forcing us to learn the hard way. I can confirm with certainty that yes, you caused us to expedite our work. May I seek your indulgence, first of all, that a correction be made in the record that what we are presenting is not in relation to the health sector, because we did present on the health sector, the entire health sector, earlier in the session. What we have today are MDAs falling under the education sector, the justice, law and order sector, and a few other ministries. Before I proceed, permit me, in accordance with the rules, to lay the minutes for all, in relation to all the meetings that we have conducted during the interactions we have had with the respective MDAs. I beg to lay, Right Honourable Speaker. The summary you guided and directed me to present, Right Honourable Speaker, relates to the following ministries, departments and agencies. The Ministry of Finance, Planning and Economic Development, the report is ready. The Ministry of Education and Sports, the report is ready. The Ministry of Energy and Mineral Development, mainstream, the report is ready, save for the projects. The Ministry of Justice and Constitutional Affairs, the Directorate of Public Prosecutions, Office of the President, the Ministry of Public Service, the Courts of Judicature and Brackets Judiciary, Uganda Prison Service, the Police Force, the Directorate of Government Analytical Laboratory, the Ministry of Agriculture and More Industry and Husbandry and Fisheries, the Ministry of Defense and Veteran Affairs, the Ministry of Local Government, the Ministry of Lands, Housing and Urban Development, the Ministry of Foreign Affairs, the Ministry of Works and Transport, the Ministry of Tourism, Wildlife and Antiquities, the Directorate of Citizenship and Immigration Control, the Ministry of Water, the Ministry of Internal Affairs, the Ministry of East African Affairs, the Ministry of Trade, Industry and Cooperatives, Office of the Prime Minister, the Directorate of Ethics and Integrity, State House, where we have adopted the report of the Auditor General. Right Honourable Speaker, I proceed now to take Parliament through the summary as you guided me. With your permission, I would like to submit a copy of the same executive summary.
Please do.
For the record. Madam Speaker and honourable colleagues, it gives me great pleasure to present to you the findings and recommendations of the Committee on Public Accounts, Central Government, on the report of the Auditor General on entities under the education sector, JELOS, and the selected ministries as I have read them out. Because of the time constraints, Madam Speaker, allow me to speak only on the general findings, recommendations of the Committee on the sectors, and the details of the specific votes. I request that colleagues will be pleased at their leisure, pleasure and convenience to refer to the reports. Under Article 163(4) of our Constitution, mandate is given to the Auditor General to submit to Parliament an annual report of the accounts audited by himself for the financial year under review, and particularly the year immediately preceding. In this particular case, we are concerned with the financial year 2020-21. The Constitution further, under Article 163(5), requires Parliament to debate and consider the report and take appropriate action within 6 months after the submission by the Auditor General. The report of the Auditor General for the financial year 2020-21 was presented on the floor on 3rd February 2022 and referred to the committee for consideration. The Public Accounts Committee, Central Government, considered the Auditor General's report for the financial year in question in respect of the sectors and ministries that I have mentioned. And pursuant to Rule 174 of our Rules of Procedure, we have done the same. The scope covers all audit queries that have been raised in respect of the institutions mentioned. The methodology adopted is conventionally analysis of the documents and meeting the respective stakeholders and requiring others to make written memoranda, which has largely been complied with by the respective MDAs. In the interest of understanding the working environment and conditions of these entities, the committee conducted desk research to understand the legal and policy provisions relating to the appropriation, disbursement, expenditure, and accountability of public funds. The committee examined the report of the Auditor General in respect of those entities, the accounts for the year under review, and the memoranda or responses and other documents submitted by the respective witnesses. The general observations and recommendations include the following. Right Honourable Speaker and Honourable colleagues, there are low staffing levels almost in all MDAs that have been placed under our consideration. We have made reviews of all of them, observed and made the respective conclusions. But generally speaking, we can say that there is a need to fill the gaps or the vacancies that remain, stretching the MDAs in question. The quantification of outputs and the implementation of quantified outputs remains a significant concern raised by the Auditor General year in, year out. It remains a matter that has got to be addressed in terms of capacity building and enhancing the ability of the MDAs to fully quantify and implement the outputs that are quantified. The committee recommends that all entities should hire qualified personnel dedicated to the function of quantification and should receive regular and adequate training. 2, the entities that fail to comply with Section 13.15 of the PFMA or that delay to submit their quantified outputs should be sanctioned and have their budgets rejected. 3, all entities without exception should mandatorily submit their quantified outputs for effective assessment of their performance in relation to the budget. Right Honourable Speaker, as I did mention, implementation of quantified outputs remains a challenge. One, because the entities rarely adequately quantify the outputs, and therefore implementation becomes a challenge. The other challenge that faces quantification and implementation is the low funding of budgetary allocations, which we have highlighted year in, year out. The submission of accurate quarterly performance reports remains an outstanding challenge to the MDAs, as in a significant number of MDAs under consideration have failed in this respect. The committee recommends that accounting officers should prepare budget monitoring plans and reports to facilitate the performance tracking within the stipulated timelines. Accounting officers should ensure that the planners are up to date with all statutory submissions in terms of timelines and strictly adhere to them at all times and without exception. The Ministry of Finance, Planning and Economic Development should always organize trainings for accounting officers to appreciate the nature and value of quarterly reports and ensure strict compliance with the law for proper planning. Absorption of funds. We have noted, Right Honourable Speaker, with concern that there is a significant number of entities that continue to underabsorb funds. Yet the same funds are needed by other entities which would probably utilize them. We have highlighted the concerns and recommend that proper planning and budgeting be employed as a tool to ensure that the funds allocated are utilized to the fullest. The committee therefore recommends as follows: that the Accountant General strictly enforces Section 15.2 of the PFMA 2015, which requires that annual cash flow plans issued under subsection 1 be the basis for release of funds to the entities. 2, that accounting officers should strictly adhere to the annual budget performance contract signed with the PSST pursuant to Section 45 of the PFMA 2015. This contract binds accounting officers to deliver to the activities in the work plan of the vote for the financial year submitted under Section 13, subsection 15 of the PFMA. Performance of NTR, Right Honourable Speaker, remains a challenge. A significant problem that was not made, the situation was not made better by the coming into force of the COVID-19 pandemic and lockdown. Quite a significant number of entities under the sectors under review did not fare well with NTR. The committee recommends that the entities should strictly plan for NTR in their budgeting process to avoid distortions in economic planning. Right Honorable Speaker, a significant number of entities would tell the committee that they never planned for NTR or budgeted for NTR, and yet they are NTR collecting entities. Others would inform the committee that the NTR was an enforced budget plan by the Ministry of Finance and Economic Planning. To this extent, the committee recommends that the entities in issue should liaise always with the Ministry of Finance, Planning and Economic Development to budget together to avoid distortions and inadequacies in that budgeting function. The country should put in place a rapid response mechanism in cases of emergencies to avoid drastic and catastrophic consequences to the economy. The Ministry of Finance and Planning should provide technical assistance to entities in areas of economic planning and budgeting. Entities should further look for ways of diversifying their revenue sources to ensure that they meet their targeted NTR thresholds. This, in addition to technological measures as a response to unforeseen disasters. The other area of significance, Right Honourable Speaker and colleagues, are off-budget receipts. The continuer has consistently observed with dismay that a significant number of entities receive off-budget financing, but failing to declare the same to the Ministry of Finance, Planning and Economic Development, and as a result cause distortion of the budget. The Auditor General reported that some entities received off-budget financing which were not declared and accordingly not appropriated by Parliament as required under Section 43(1) of the PFMA 2015. There was no evidence that the entities obtained clearance from the Accountant General as required under Section 43(5) of the PFMA 2015. Such omission goes against the requirement running an integrated budget and poses a risk of double financing and possible abuse. For example, Chambogo University received a donor funding of up to 3,110 million, out of which only 2.677 billion had been included in the budget, resulting into off-budget receipt of 433 billion that was not declared. Uganda Management Institute received another significant amount of 185 billion from the African Development Bank to finance staff capacity development, which was equally not declared to the Treasury and therefore not appropriated by Parliament for the entity. There are so many examples which include, but not limited to, Soroti University and a number of others, Busitema, Gulu, Moni universities, all received funding that was not declared and neither transferred to the consolidated fund account. The committee notes that the non-disclosure of off-budget contravenes Section 36(6), Section 43 and 44(2) of the PFMA 2015, which require all resources, including external funding, to be paid into the consolidated fund and availed through Appropriation Act. Right Honourable Speaker, the committee did observe a dichotomy of regimes. On the one hand is the PFMA, which requires transfer of the funds to the consolidated fund. On the other hand is the donor contract regime, which stipulates we are not allowing you to transfer this money to the consolidated fund. An abridged version would be to declare the amount. And whatever remains, because some money is not appropriated by the donor entities according to our budgeting cycle, the view of the committee is that such balances should constitute part of the opening balances for the subsequent financial year. Right Honourable Speaker, there have been poor performance on government receipts and we have clearly indicated the committee recommends that the Ministry of Finance, Planning and Economic Development should endeavor to adequately fund the entities as appropriated by Parliament to enable implementation of planned activities. Right Honourable Speaker, the final point relates to domestic arrears. I think domestic arrears remain or continue to be the monster that we've got to find a solution for. Almost 80% of the entities we dealt with are faced with huge unfunded domestic arrears, which keep accumulating in form of damages, interest, as well as accumulation of principal, court awards especially, and compensation orders. Parliament and the country must find an everlasting solution if we are to get out of the existing quagmire. May I conclude, Right Honourable Speaker, by thanking you once again for your guidance, which this time was an iron fist on us. We appreciate it. Number 2, thanking members of this committee, some of whom have spent sleepless nights in order to comply with the timelines issued. Number 3, to thank our support staff, beginning with the clerk to Parliament, who has given us support, and our very own clerk, Mr. Kumakech Maximilian, who heads our technical team, and to thank my young brother, the Vice Chairperson, Honorable Alhaji Asuman Basalirwa. Right Honorable Speaker, I'm not saying he's my young brother because he's shorter than me, but because he was born later than me. I thank you so much. I beg to move that you find pleasure, honorable colleagues, in adopting the recommendations and observations that we have come up with on your behalf. I thank you in advance.
Thank you so much. If it was in terms of shortness, I was going to tell you to stand up. Honorable members, you've had, it's a director report. We gave them work on our behalf, and they have reported back on their findings and their recommendations. And we may not need to debate a lot because it is direct, and most of these park accounts, they have cross-cutting issues. They have cross-cutting issues, and to avoid wasting a lot of time, I know you have to go to the constituencies. May somebody move that we adopt that report? I know Gilbert will do that.
Thank you, Right Honourable Speaker. Right Honourable Speaker, I'd like to appreciate the Chairman, Park Central Government, and the committee. If you look at the report is very clear. Only that we need to urge the Auditor Generals to keep on submitting their report in time. Right Honourable Speaker, our Auditor General sometimes they remit in their report quite late, and it make the activities of the committee quite difficult. On that note, Right Honourable Speaker, I would like to move the motion that the report be adopted with all the resolutions and recommendations that was put forward by the committee. I beg to move.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, seconded.
Thank you so much. I want to put a record clear that Auditor General is a staff of Parliament. They are your staff, and Auditor General presents their report in time. The problem is with us in Parliament. But I am happy that Honorable Segona appreciates that at times we need to use stick and carrot, and this time using stick has made us achieve a lot. I am happy you appreciate. But we have a new report. We expect it before State of Nation Address. All of them to be presented to this House. We need to finish the accountability cycle. Is the motion seconded? Seconded by the Minister. He wants to bring with the government chief whip, Minister Tourism, Honorable Mara, Ibanda, by the whole house. Even Kwizera. There is a problem. Yes, Honorable Minister.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, I rise to second the motion and to also appreciate Honorable Segona for the good summarized report.
Honorable Segona and Park Central.
Madam Speaker, it is fair to put on record that for the first time we are adopting the Accountability Committee's reports in time.
Thank you.
And we must appreciate you for the leadership. I say so because I served in Park Central for 7 years and a half, the whole of 9th Parliament and the first half of the 10th Parliament. And I was with Mukaga, he was our clerk. I was with Okema, he was our clerk. And several members I see here. And they can all bear me witness that we never concluded our reports in time. And we must appreciate you, Madam Speaker. I felt I should say this on the recommendations which has made on the Ministry of Finance. They are all complimentary. And I was really smiling when you were making the recommendations, and I want to assure the House that we shall implement them. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Honorable Minister. Yes?
Thank you, Honorable Speaker. I also want to thank my boss, Honorable Segona, the chair of the committee where I served for 10 years, and he has feared mentioning my name because we are together as Honorable Minister. But my prayers still remain that these recommendations have been coming over and over, and the implementing authority and powers lies within the minister. That's why we always want the names of these permanent secretaries here before they are passed to vet them. So my prayers are, as we make recommendations, as you have always made them, including you, Madam Speaker, you have been there in that committee, let us ask the bodies, the ministry, and those people required to implement those recommendations, take them seriously. Non-remittance of deductions shouldn't be appearing anymore in this 11th Parliament, but it is still appearing. So as we adopt the report, please, Honourable Minister, since you were there, and you have prayed the Speaker, you have named the accounting officers, please, do the needful, so that when you go for other areas, we don't get same occurrences of reports in the same manner. That's my only prayer I want to give, but I want to thank you so much.
Thank you. We are going to make sure that we get a treasury memoranda from Minister of Finance on the actions that have been taken on issues raised. But what Honorable Msomesa is saying, there are some recurrent things that should not be existing as of now. If we're really very serious, they shouldn't be existing. So you need to become strict and ensure that these issues are resolved once for all. Like the issues of payroll. It should be resolved. The mischarge, payables, receivables, all those things should be resolved. The NTR issues should all be resolved. You know, for him, he doesn't know accounts. So for him, he's just learning in our accounting language. Honorable members, I now put a question that the report of Public Accounts Committee, Central Government, on the report of Auditor General for the financial year ended 2021 on entities mentioned by Honorable Segona, and together with the entities that were not considered, be adopted by this Honorable House. Those in favor say under contrary nay. The ayes have it. Congratulations, PAC. I used to be a member of PAC, and I still want to re-echo there's a difference between Auditor General's reports. Auditor General's reports are guided under Article 163(5) of the Constitution. And then there are those investigation reports. The investigation reports, like me and Honorable Segona, Honorable Katuntu, we did investigation on Bank of Uganda. You can even investigate for a whole year. They are not guided by Article 163. And investigation reports, you go in depth, like what happened to Bank of Uganda. You bring reforms of what is supposed to be done. So for people who are just learning, new people in the system should understand that there's a difference between Auditor General's reports and investigative reports, and people should accept to learn. For me, when Honorable Musasi talks, when Honorable Bua talks, I accept because they are senior. When Honorable, he was my lecturer at campus. When he talks, they are my seniors. So I accept to learn from seniors. So when you're junior, where you learn. Honorable members, on that note, therefore, I want to wish you a blessed weekend. And I am going to adjourn the House to Monday at midday. Thank you.
UBC, inspiring Uganda.